What is prep and thought process?
Preparation and thought process was extended. In terms of the man's view and the woman's view, their thought process is how they're different and how their preparation is different. A man doesn't really prepare. That's what you were saying yesterday. He just wants, okay, I'm showing up, get it over with, let's continue on. Whereas the woman is taking it through this whole up and down roller coaster ride. That makes sense, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, at least that happened before. Anyway, hello, people of the DMV of Charm City and beyond. Welcome to Covenant Connection. See my handsome husband over there? That's him. Yay!
Good morning.
Here I is. Okay. We get ready to get started here, so y'all know what to do. Share the video, head on over to YouTube, give us a like, a hi, a thumbs up, all that good stuff. We've already shared the video, so we're gonna be jumping right in here in a second. This is how we do it. Better know it's what you do, and you are listening to the Covenant Connection live on WSKOnlineradio.com, where Talk Radio just got better. Good morning, Poetless. Make sure y'all are sharing the video. I will do invites and likes in a little bit. Okay. Good morning, and good morning, and good morning. We are live. This is Covenant Connection live on WMSKOnlineradio.com, where Talk Radio just got better. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and you can follow the Majors on Instagram and Facebook. I am Arlene Major.
Good morning, family. This is Jermaine Victor Major.
Oh, he got himself a hook now. All right, y'all. All right. I love it. I love it. You know what today is, TGIF. Thank goodness God is Friday. Thank goodness it's Friday. Thank grace it's Friday. Just thank you. It is Friday. We done made it through another week. We're going to get this show off and started. If you're following us on Facebook Live, head on over there. And we've also pinned up the YouTube link. Head on over to YouTube and say hi to us over on the YouTube link. We are live in studio and can't wait to talk to you all. Now, TGIF stands for something else now. Want to know what it is?
Oh,
Because I found the shirt at
all
Walmart.
right.
Yes, TGIF stands for This Grandma is Fabulous. Yes. Okay, anyway. I love that shirt. I got to find one for my husband that says This Grandpa is fierce. So maybe that'll. I gotta find one. Anyway, moving on, we are going to get started and continue on with our marriage series. If you joined us last week, we talked about toxic relationships. And that was a pretty healthy conversation about toxic relationships. So we're going to continue on and talk about marriage, but we're going to talk about the different phases of marriage because you've heard me say it before. People get married, they're all for the party, they get carried away with the dress and the reception and the guest list and who's eating what and all this other stuff and what everybody's gonna wear, what they can't wear, but they forget about what is happening before and after the party is over. So that's what we're gonna dive into. So, honey, he is just all lost over there with his thing. No, we're gonna continue on. I'm gonna read to you some things that, we all know what happens when you get married, okay? You have to go get the marriage license. Some people are talking about whether or not they're going to take the other person's last name, okay? Changing your driver's license, changing your social security card, making sure that there's everything is so that it looks like a smooth run household, okay? And you're inviting another person into your life, into your space. There's many other things that have to be done. There's always a marriage to do list, but we know those things have to be done. My thing is, now that you've legally done the whole thing, what are you doing for yourself spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically? Friendship wise, all of that. And I think the first thing that we really need to talk about is, are you friends? Is there a friendship between you and your partner? But let's talk about that. Good morning to those of you joining me on Facebook. I see you, A. Michelle, and I see you, Poet Less Shakespeare. Make sure you share the video and let others know that we're here. But let's talk about that. Do people develop a friendship before they get married, or they just jumping in to marriage? What's your opinion on
I mean, yeah, if you ask me that question, I mean, I think some people do. Some people, because of, they ride and they run on that first physical attraction or that thing that draws that person to them. And it's usually not the friendship. Usually, again, it's the physical attraction, or we have something, in common, or I like, how you flow, I like your attitude, those type of things. Or you got a good job, you make good money, Sometimes we do those things for the wrong reasons, but I think where we should definitely begin the discussion is in that friendship area, because I think that friendship is the foundation for a relationship, that can grow to something greater, that marriage, that place of marriage and longevity.
Okay, well, you mentioned something really, really interesting there, and we talk about this all the time, just so y'all know we're not diving into something we haven't talked about before. But the friendship thing, some people, they've been friends forever. Let's take, for instance, you and me. We met a long time ago. We worked across the hall from each other. Okay. We would say hi. We would maybe meet up in the lunchroom in the Pentagon. We worked at the Pentagon at the time. And maybe have lunch. And usually lunch was fried chicken, because that fried chicken was banging. I'm just saying. But we'd have lunch, or talk on the phone, or we just pass each other in the hallway because you were busy, I was busy, whatever the case may be. We met via a mutual friend at the time, and we just kind of stayed in touch off and on that way. So we got to know each other. There was a gap where we weren't in contact, and then we came back into contact. And I think I met our son Marcus when he was 7. Marcus is an old man now, but I met Marcus when he was 7. I'm not going to say that. So there was a definite growing period there of, getting to know you, getting to know your son, getting to know, what would make you laugh, what would, tick you off, things like that. So I think those things were added into building, the relationship, because we were off and on in contact for at least a good 3-4 times over the years.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, talking with people who are married now, and we talked about it last night a bit, just recognizing and seeing the relationships that have been successful, over the years, those functioning relationships where people just seem to be having fun, with each other and enjoying each other's company. I think what most of those relationships have in common is growing out of a friendship.
Right.
There's a certain thing, and I think you deal with people on a certain way when you begin a relationship as friends, because you get to know each other differently than if it's just about your attraction. That's all right. If it's just about your attraction to them or something that you like about them and that kind of thing, because I think you're a lot more open as friends. You can talk about things. You can talk about other relationships, things you've been through, because you can do that with a friend. When you're trying to impress somebody that you're attracted to, you generally not going to tell your dirt. You're not going to tell the things that, your flaws, your insecurities. You're not going to do that, because you don't want that person to look at you any less than. You want to do all the things that draw a person in, as opposed to just being open and real. And you can do that when you begin as friends.
Yes, I am with you on that. And then, that's when you build that bridge of trust and understanding, because you get to know, like I said, what makes that person laugh, what takes that person off. You if you're paying attention enough, you know when to leave alone and let them brood by themselves. And then you know when to step in and say, snap out of it. Okay. And you tend to be very truthful when it comes to that. Sometimes you have a hard time opening up, and other times it's that person cares about you enough and loves you enough to get you to the point where you open up and you release whatever that is that you might be holding on to, or whatever the case may be. Now, with that being said, we're talking about building a friendship, building a relationship, but as said earlier, some people, they look at each other and the next thing you know, I mean, many people talk about love at first sight. Do you believe in love at first sight?
And we talked about this as well before. Again, your perception being your reality. Mm-hmm. If your perception is that you can fall in love immediately at first sight, then that's your reality. Mm-hmm. I think it's hard. I think some people, have an instant connection, mm-hmm. Absolutely, but to love at first sight, for me, it's just kind of hard to imagine, because you don't know,
right?
These things about a person, and sometimes those spirits connect. So sometimes there is a connection that's undeniable, at first sight. And I've heard people talk about that in relationship, where they've seen this person go, okay, this one's going to be my wife. Mm-hmm. That's the one. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So again, being that your perception is your reality, it absolutely, I think it can be.
Okay, I kind of did that, and we laugh and we joke. I talk about this all the time. I kind of did that when we first met, and my whole thing was, it took years. It wasn't one of the things I jumped on. I just knew when you smiled at me, I was just like, okay, that's that. Okay. And it wasn't one of those things where I'm like, later, it's just like, let's go. There were so many times in the times that we had gone out just to talk or just to spend some time together, mm-hmm. that I was just like, man, why don't you just ask? And then I'm sitting there kicking myself going, woman, why don't you just ask? And I'm kind of the old-fashioned girl. I'd rather the guy do it, but it was just one of those things. It was so comfortable where it was. It felt there was no need to push it,
right?
Because it was just going to go the way that it was going to go. Absolutely. But we both felt that there was that obvious, some going to have to give.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Some going to have to give. And we're not talking about the movie. But anyway, So yeah, there's that building of that friendship. But then for you as a man, when do you, and I know, you're speaking for yourself, not, maybe the whole entire male population. I don't know, because each man and each woman thinks differently. We know that. To decide to want to move on, that because a lot of people, I don't want to ruin the friendship because, if we go that route, things are going to be different. When, for a man, is it a feeling? Is it a thought process? Is it, to take it from the friendship level to dating? I'm not talking about exclusivity yet. I'm talking about dating, because that's going to be a whole other level of exclusivity and monogamy. Because that's it. For a lot of people, when is that a decision that a man makes? Help this woman understand.
And I think, and what, again, just speaking for myself, it was a thing of just seeing those things
Mhm.
that I thought what I liked about this person, the qualities that I thought, drew me in, that made me want more, want to get closer, want to see, how real this is again. And it was easier for us because we were friends for such a long time, it, we couldn't hide those characteristics that we had about ourselves, that because we were being real, during our friendship.
Right.
So again, I think for me is when I started to see the characteristics, in the person that I really liked.
You be a nice characteristic. You talk about my crazy. No, anyway.
No,
no, I'm just playing. I'm playing. But go ahead.
The crazy decade.
See, I told you.
But no, those characteristics. I mean, for me, I love a person with a sense of humor. I love somebody, who's kind, kind-hearted, friendly, open. There were just those things about you. I mean, there was a goodness about you as a person. I couldn't even remember ever hearing you curse. I knew you didn't smoke. So some of those things that that I thought, I really liked or was looking in for in somebody to be in a relationship with, I saw there. So it was easier for me to desire, to start that dating process. And for people that don't know us, our actual dating process really begins from long distance.
Yep. That's what it is. Because, and if y'all have ever heard me say it before, the DoD operator was my friend. Okay, because that's how I kept finding him. I couldn't remember his address. I couldn't remember his phone number, but I knew doggone well he was still and that's how I kept in touch with him. And then letters came in, and then came in where we were talking on the phone. He was on this side of the United States, and I was down in my hometown of Albuquerque, New Mexico. And then came that time where we made the decision and put him on a plane and flew him out here, or out not here to Baltimore, but to Albuquerque.
And I don't want people to think that you paid for me. You put me on a plane. I paid my own way.
His own way.
No, but
I put him on a plane.
No, but the thing is, we.
Hey, Marky Mark.
And what I recognized was I noticed a different tone in the letter that you sent because you write so well. But I started to notice something different in the tone of the letters, and I was going,
wait till I tell y'all how he told me where he was in the relationship.
That door is kind of open. So, and I was open to it, even though there was a distance in between. I knew, like I said, because of our friendship and because of the things that I knew about you as a person and the type of person that you were, right, that it was something that I was willing to take that chance on, even from a distance. That right, says, okay, well.
But like you said, we talked, we would send cards, we would send letters, we would keep the communication open because it was obviously something we wanted to work on. And that's the thing about when you go, even your friendships, you work on your friendships because there's people I've been friends with for years and I haven't talked to them in years.
Right.
Okay. There's also friendships where I do my best to keep that connection because I want that connection. And it makes it it's a part of my life that's, you know, you just can't throw away, even though there may be some hard times and this, that, and the other, you just can't throw it away. But I think the interesting part is through all those letters and all that crazy before, it was before he got on the plane and came out, I was in Walmart. I love telling this story. I was in Walmart because I was in my crochet phase. When am I not in my crochet phase? And I was asking him about, you know, the Redskins color, because he's a Redskins fan. Y'all don't hurt him, okay? He's a Redskins fan. And I was asking him if the burgundy was really burgundy or was it more red? I mean, gold I understood, but I wanted to make sure I got the actual burgundy color right. So I'm standing in the yarn aisle at Walmart, going through all these colors. And I'm like, okay, is it more maroonish? Is it red? Is it this, that, and the other? And next thing you know, he just popped right out of his mouth and says, I love you. And I was like, excuse me, is that like a friendship love? Is that a, you know, I'm glad to have you in my life love? I went into did he just say what I think he said? That's exactly how that happened. And so he was like, are you going to say it back? I just wanted to make sure that he wasn't playing with me when he said it. And he wasn't. So that day in the aisle at Walmart, it went from just being friendship to being the next level of the relationship. So y'all gonna grow with us in our relationship because we did go through some things. Hello to those of you that have joined so far. Ruben Green, I see you. Dub Science, I also see Marky Mark. Hi, Marcus. Loving you guys that are here and joining us. Thank you so much. We're in our marriage series. We're talking about the friendship part, building the friendship, building the foundation. Because when you get married, you know, you say to everybody, you say to this person in their face that they're your best friend. Are they really? Are they really? Do you trust this person? Do you rely on this person? Is this person able, excuse me, even when you don't want them to, they tell you the truth and let you know about yourself. I know this one does. Okay, I know he does. And he knows that I know there's days where I look at him and it's just like, oh, no, you didn't. Okay, I go into my shenanigans. Oh, no, you didn't. Kind of, but that's the thing that you appreciate, excuse me, in your relationship, that friendship base where you're able to be yourself around this person. You don't have to change who you are. They know who you are. They know your idiosyncrasies. They know you come home, you put on your sweats. Okay, they know that you don't wake up looking like Kim Kardashian at 6 o'clock in the morning. They know this. Okay, they know what you like to eat, what you don't like to eat. And a lot of people think that's safe for marriage. Well, you're supposed to get to know that when you're married. Yeah, friends know that. I can tell you what my best friend likes to eat right now. Okay, I can tell you what my best friend's drink of choice is right now. That's getting to know the individual. And that's minor, but then there's the other things that you get to learn. You get to learn, there's some things before we go to commercial break here, there's some things that you get to know their laugh. You get to know, whether they're ticklish or not, or whatever, and it brings to mind.
Quirks and personality.
Yep.
So many different things.
So many different things that it brings to mind. And my husband knows my friend Karen, who passed away a few years ago. There's days that I would love to hear her little snort laugh, because her laugh would get so intense that she would snort. And just sometimes that would just make our day where we just couldn't help but continue laughing because she just snorted. It was just like she snorted. Anyway, building a friendship. So we're going to go to commercial break. We're going to come back and we're going to jump into, just step up a little bit from the friendship level into the next level. So keep it locked right here on the home of Cheryl Underwood Radio, WMSKOnlineRadio.com, where talk radio just got better and it keeps getting better. So don't go nowhere. Got something for you. Hi, Marcus.
Yes, I told him about the show today, so I was hoping he would tune in for a while.
Well, he's tuned it in.
I want him to check it out. Even if he can't stay, he can always go back and check it out on YouTube or go back and
That
watch
is
it on
true.
his
That is true. I have put the YouTube link up there. It is pinned up there. Y'all go on over to YouTube. Just drop in, say hi, give us a thumbs up, say good morning, say something. The phone lines are going to be open in the 12 o'clock hour. I will mention that in our next segment, where you can call in with your thoughts and opinions on this series, and we hope to interact with you all continuously throughout this series. It's not going to stop today. We've got a lot of different levels to talk about. Trust and believe on that.
Ooh. And the food on the
I
child.
can handle the salad all. I just can't handle all of it.
There's no purpose. Send you over to Johnny Rockers or something. If you was trying to go to
We're
food
gonna
on
bubble
the child.
gum. We're gonna bubble gum. But that's where I'm going to send my husband, y'all, for Father's Day. He's gonna get to be able to go over and show her the child and eat himself silly. I probably have to bring a dolly and wheel him up out of there.
Wow. I guess we come back in with the things you're looking for in a relationship to move forward.
I know y'all love looking at my husband, but I'm gonna give you a little different. Thank you, Naeem, for sharing our video. I appreciate you. Make sure y'all are sharing this video. Those of you that are still on there following us, hit us up on YouTube. The link has been shared. Let others know that we're here.
What was you were looking for?
In a relationship.
Thank you.
Good morning, Renee.
I think people come to that and once you maybe have gone through some things, you know that you thought you liked or you thought you wanted that you had, that all of a sudden you realize, okay, no, I don't really.
I can
That
tell
ain't that
you,
important.
well, for true, and I can say this now and I'll say it again. Growing up as a child, I wanted a marriage like my grandparents. There just was this simpatico, you know. They didn't have to do a lot of talking. They didn't have to do a whole lot of, but of course, 50, 60 years, after a while, if you don't know after 50, 60 years, something wrong with you. But I wanted what I saw in them, you know. And because to me, that was important. They
Right,
just showed the rest of us what it was like to be in a union
Right,
like
but
that.
what I wanted them was those characteristics in that person in particular you wanted to be
Right,
that, that man in your relationship.
right.
What were those things you said, okay, well, I have to have?
Okay. Would you like me to name them now? Or... He's like, shut up.
We talk, because the way we talk, we talk through all of this stuff before we get on the radio. And we gotta go back and start all over again.
That is true.
I want it to be fresh.
That is true. Characteristics. Not a checklist, ladies, if you're listening. It's characteristics.
Yeah, I think that's what's different. Reese's.
Oh,
I knew you were gonna do peanut butter.
I love Reese's.
Really? You love peanut butter. Not like peanut butter, but like a Reese's.
I don't know. I just.
There's something wrong with your mind. There's something up here.
I just cannot get with peanut butter out of the jar. It's gross. I'm not a real big peanut fan either. If it's in a payday, I can eat it because it's with caramel.
Reese's isn't peanut butter.
I realize that. It's got chocolate on it.
Peanut butter inside the chocolate.
Chocolate.
You said you like payday.
Chocolate. I love paydays.
Don't eat.
I grew up on, look, remember when we were out cooking and Mary and I mentioned big hunks? Big hunks were if I found a big hunk right now, I probably would faint.
You lost me because I don't know.
Oh my gosh, that was our go-to breakfast bar in the morning. Nougat with peanuts in it. And then when my mom was based in Germany, she would send home great big bars of Toblerone, the triangle shaped chocolate.
So was it inside out payday? You said nougat with peanuts in it?
Mm-hmm. But it wasn't overloaded. It had more nougat than anything else. And what we would do is we would partially freeze it in the morning. So and then crack it that way. When we were in class, we would just be able to sit there and suck on it. Bring up my childhood, y'all. My husband looked over that. No. Okay. Nah. No. Excuse me. Y'all, please forgive me because I got off night shift not too long ago, so. Our next segment is kind of short. I'm going to get the libraries and all of that out of the way so we can go into the nonstop hour with okay, dokie. You can step out if you want to, because cameras are about to go back in a minute. Okay, I'm just.
And we definitely gonna end up flowing into the biblical. We're sharing and you're gonna get creative with it.
The views and opinions that are expressed on WMSK Radio
Hi, everybody.
are those of the guests, hosts, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its management, host, or advertisers. The shows founded on WMSKOnRadio.com can't promote any lifestyle, belief, religion, political affiliation, or personal preference. These shows are for entertainment only. Thanks for listening.
All right, everybody, we are back, and really quick, you are live right here with Family Connection and the Majors on WMSKOnlineRadio.com, home of Cheryl Underwood Radio, where talk radio just got better. Listen, there's a few things that are going on in Baltimore that we need to tell you about. One, mark the calendars for April the 6th. That's right, April the 6th from 7 to 11 p.m. Kiki Wyatt is going to be live at Charm, Baltimore, 407 East Saratoga Street, accompanied by Rose Gold Experience Band. That's right, you have an opportunity to win 2 free tickets from WMSK. If you have not seen it yet, I will post it up on Covenant Connection, but enter for your chance to win this pair of tickets to see Kiki Wyatt live. You have to enter your information. The drawing will take place on the 30th of March. So get in, get your entry in so that you can have a chance to go and see Kiki Wyatt live. And she's looking beautiful as ever if you have not seen Kiki lately. Also, unless you've been under a rock, get from under that rock. The State versus Us magazine is hot and it is happening. Urban reality news right in your hands that's highlighting high-profile cases, wrongfully convicted stories, corruption in the prison system and police department, success stories of former inmates, entertainment, and more. You can get your copy today at stateversususmag.com. That's stateversusmag.com. You can also find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And if you have a story to tell, you want ad space or you want a feature, you can email us at stateversususmag@gmail.com. That's stateversususmag@gmail.com. The pre-order is already happening for issue number 4. The first issue has the CEO and founder of WMSK Online Radio, Ms. Connoisseur herself. Second issue has my son, the New York General, on the cover. The third issue is a dual cover with Lunel, the comedian, and Wallow 267 on either side of the cover. And I'm not going to do my drum roll today, but issue number 4, the cover is featuring the one and the only Freeway Ricky Ross.
Oh, wow.
So that is going to be an exciting issue. Y'all just don't know, okay? Y'all just don't know. And I want to also let you all know, make sure you get that going over to State vs. Us Mag, get your pre-order in and get your other copies and share. The other thing that was just recently announced by State vs. Us Magazine in this time story is that they finally have the order forms that are going into the prison systems around the country so they can order the magazines from inside the G-Wall. How about that? Okay. They have been requesting it and the order has been fulfilled. They now will be able to order these magazines from inside the G-Wall. And I think that's fantastic. So keep up with Ms. Connoisseur because she is touring and she is interviewing and she's doing radio spots and she is letting the world know about this magazine. And trust me, people are scooping it up. So don't miss out on your opportunity. Also, in issue number 4, I had the opportunity to write a article honoring the late Alberta Marie Williams, who I had the opportunity to interview, who passed away on February 15th of this year. She had stage 4 cancer, and she was a beautiful woman, a beautiful spirit. And the reason I interviewed her is because she experienced domestic violence and other abuse starting at the age of 13. And it continued throughout her life. She had drug abuse, rape, homelessness, prostitution, all these different things. But she took her what she went through and she turned it into something good. Where she was at the N Street Village in D.C., where she would help other homeless women to deal with their homelessness, their drug abuse, their battery, all of this other stuff, giving them someone who understands. She was out in the community. She was doing her thing. So it was an honor to write this magazine, and I've already spoken with her daughter, and we will be dedicating this year's 5th annual 50 Shades of Blue Domestic Violence Awareness Conference in honor of Alberta Marie Williams. So I am so looking forward to that, and we will be giving an honorary copy of issue number 4 when it comes out to the N Street Village to be displayed there in her honor and work in partnership with the N Street Village. I'm so excited about that. I don't know what to do with myself. Okay, so anyway, make sure you get your copies of State vs. Us magazine and share. There are some fascinating and exciting stories that are in there. And the other thing I do want to mention as well, Easter is coming up. Spring has sprung, ladies and gentlemen. First day of spring was a couple of days ago. Spring has sprung. So ladies, it's time to throw out the old makeup and it's time to bring in the new. So you need to come on over and discover your blue. Your blue is to believe, love yourself. So head on over to Facebook and look for Beautiful Blue, or look for www.facebook.com/Flawless Blue One. That's flawless and BLUU and the number 1. Or you can go over to the website www.marykay.com/A-Major2019. Register for free and be entered to into the March Madness giveaway that's taking place on March 31st at 9 p.m. on Facebook Live. Get on over there and get your. I got combo deals. I've got bath, body. I've got makeup. I've got the whole 9 yards. So come on over, discover your glue, and get on the road to good skin care. Let me see. Am I missing anything? I don't think I'm. Oh, I do want to shout out the Baltimore Media Coalition who gave Covenant Connection a shout out this morning on Instagram. Thank you for that. Covenant Connection is being noticed and recognized in different circles. So if you are in the church community and you want a church shout out, you want things like that, you need to get in contact with us at covenantconnection16@gmail.com. That's covenantconnection16@gmail.com. If you'd like to be a guest on our show, certain topics, we welcome pastors, gospel groups, ministers, praise teams, choirs. We want you all in here. We need a choir in here. That ought to rock the rafters in here. Bring it on so we can talk about what's going on in your church, the cause your church is behind, any missions that you're behind. Bring it here so we can spotlight it and highlight it on our show here with WMSK. And we want to thank Ms. Connoisseur for the platform that she has allowed us to be able to speak the things that we're speaking, to be able to be heard on the airwaves, not only here, but across the country and around the world. So we thank you, Ms. Connoisseur, for this platform. We support you in everything that you do. And we cannot wait to see what's going to come up, because there are big things coming up for WMSK Online Radio.
Amazing.
And I also just real quick want to toot my own horn just a little bit. And I want to, I know it's my name that's on these two things, but if it was not for my WMSK Online family, Ms. Connoisseur, my husband, my family, and other things that have been going on, I'm going to receive the first ever Icon Award for Domestic Violence Awareness at the first annual East Coast Social Media Awards that's happening at Charm Baltimore here on April 28th. It's a red carpet event. I'm excited to be, the first ever. My name's going down in history. Okay. I am excited and ecstatic, and I'm honored and humbled. I have to tell you all, this work is not easy. So it takes some strength from within and without, okay, to be able to deal with the things that come with domestic violence. And I also want to shout out Tim's Day, because Tim's Day is honoring me along with 6 others in June. For Tim's Day is another nonprofit organization that deals with health issues, because dedicated to her husband who passed away from heart attack. But she recognizes other people doing good things in the community. So I, along with folks like Edith from Charm City TV and a few others, are receiving honorary plaques from Tim's Day. So we're excited about that. And it's not about the awards, ladies and gentlemen. It's about the work. It's about us being in the community. It's about us doing the things that bring awareness to causes that others would rather just sweep under the rug and act like they're not there. So remember, just because it's not happening to you doesn't mean that it's not happening to somebody else. So keep that in mind. Mark those dates. Keep up with WMSK. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter and across social media, and just be in the know. Don't be outside the box. Be inside the box on this one, because there is a lot going on. We're going to go ahead and go over to a really quick commercial break. We're going to come back and we're going to continue our marriage, the start of our marriage series. We were just talking about friendship, building that foundation, that base, understanding each other, and the quirks and their idiosyncrasies, and the little things that just make you unique to the other person. And when you're starting to move up towards that idea and ideal of marriage. Yes, I am tongue-tied this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, just keep with us, and we'll be right back. Okay, Coming Connected right here on the home of Cheryl Underwood Radio, WMSK Online Radio, where talk radio just keeps getting better. Come on.
You don't know, now you know. Listen to Mullen report. And we'll work with your insurance providers to help cover the cost. Plus, we have travel assistance programs to get you here by planning your trip. Use this free call right now to learn more. 800-918-1376. 800-918-1376. 800-918-1376. That's 800-918-1376.
What day is the show?
Look up on your Instagram, the Tuesday. Every Saturday at 10 a.m. Okay. Yeah, that's my everything I mentioned, but I want to mention it real quick, and then we can jump out. I just wanted to learn about how that is some 12 effective, well, not all 12, but there are effective women pastors and bishops and ministers that are out there. And I want to mention at least a few, you know, because of these women today. Bring it up. Since I did that shout out yesterday for women's business for Women's Month, they're up. And when I say lit up, I am talking literally, I'm still getting posts. So I told all these ladies, I opened up my lady group, my creative group, I said they could post on there, and, you know, during Women's Awareness Month and all that other good stuff. And about 6 of them were contacting me already for a spotlight. Say, well, if you want to get published, then call me. If we're looking for authors of all types of books, and unlike most publishers, Page Publishing will take the time to review each and every book submitted to us. And we'll give you our feedback. And if you like what you read, we will get your book into bookstores and for sale online at Amazon, the Apple iTunes Store, Barnes & Noble, and other outlets. We do it everywhere. Editing, cover design, copyright, printing, publicity, and distribution. So if you're a novel, children's book, cookbook, inspirational work,
Only thing I probably would have done differently was had, and he had got the water behind the tree, but the portion of it. That's not a big deal. The water's there. Water. Going into the DOD to
advertisement ready, so in case you want to put it in a magazine or a public, it's ready to go. He'll know. He'll know. All you gotta tell him is have it ready like it's going in WMSK's magazine. He'll do it because he does the graphics for WMSK. So. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. This is Covenant Connection. We are live right here, WMSKOnlineRadio.com, where talk radio just keeps getting better. And we are the home of Cheryl Underwood Radio. Real quick, I do want to mention it is Women's Awareness Month this month, and we still got plenty of months left. But I want to mention some prominent female pastors that you should keep an eye on, or maybe you haven't heard of, or you should hear of, or whatever. But it all started off when Baylor University published a list of America's most effective preachers, and it drew criticism because they only featured one woman, and that was Dr. Barbara Brown Taylor. So they've been keeping up with Baylor, and Baylor's been changing the game, and they've been adding more and more. So I want to mention a few of the female pastors around the country. First is Austin Channing Brown. She is a writer, speaker, and practitioner, and is an evangelical. So she travels around the country. She has a book that's called "I'm Still Here: Black Dignity in a World Made for Whiteness." That's her book. Kathy Kane. She's often described as prophetic, and she works constantly to change false perceptions of the truth. Annie F. Downs, who uses her voice to inspire people to live courageously and have fun while they're doing it. Nancy Frosto, which they call her the Reverend who will make you uncomfortable in a good way. Okay? To me, that means she's going to make you think. All right, Brenda Salter McNeil, Finish Line Faith. She's a pastor and justice advocate and is constantly helping people engage and lean into the full scope of the gospel. Beth Moore, you can count on her to illuminate the scriptures in a fresh and unexpected way because she breaks it down. Sandra Van Opstel. Sandra is a worship leader and author who creates atmospheres that mobilize for reconciliation and justice. Tracy Blackman, that is a name that I recognize. The Reverend Tracy Blackman is the Executive Minister of Justice and Local Ministries for the United Church of Christ and Senior Pastor for Christ the King United Church Christ in Florissant, Missouri. She is a powerhouse speaker. If you've never heard her speak, you need to hear her. Barbara Brown Taylor. The Reverend Dr. Barbara Brown Taylor is out of Piedmont College. She was the one that was included on Baylor's list, and her place was deserved, and she's often hailed as one of the best preachers of our time. Kelly Brown Douglas is another African-American preacher who's also insightful, brilliant, and compelling, and is someone everyone should listen to. Lisa Sharon Harper is an author and a speaker, and is out here making the gospel good again. I like that. Christine Kane is an author and activist and evangelist that has a passion for Jesus Christ that is contagious. And we have Rachel Held Evans, who is also an author and who will challenge you to think about the Bible and society. We also have Elizabeth Condi Frazier, another African American female, and Dr. Frazier will provoke you to make a difference in the world. So I just wanted to bring up some of the prominent female pastors around the country and around the world here on Covenant Connection during Women's Awareness Month. So thank you to all of those doctors, those evangelists, those ministers, those speakers, those authors, those writers who are helping to make a difference and getting the gospel out to the community. Thank you, ladies. I appreciate you. So back to our series. We were talking about friendships and building that foundation. Thank you to those of you who are joining us again on Facebook Live. Appreciate you. So we were talking about that, and we were kind of moving up into the next level. You asked me a question. Would you like to ask that question again, dear?
Yes, I would, but we can start going back into what are your needs and what are you looking for, and that flows into the question. So I just want to know, what was it that you were looking for, in a man to build that relationship with? What were those characteristics that you were looking for?
I could be cliche-ish because it's some of the things where, what you hear a lot of women talk about. You want that safety, you want that security. You want someone who makes you laugh. You want someone that you're comfortable with, someone that you can trust. But when you talk about trust, You want to talk, it goes into someone that if you sit down and you tell them something, they're not going to judge you. I needed someone who's not going to be judgmental, okay? Someone who was going to encourage my dreams while I encouraged theirs. That was kind of the biggie because I you know, as y'all know, my husband knows I have things that I have my fingers in, and he encourages and he supports every last one of them. So that was a biggie for me. Yeah, I wanted somebody that could make me laugh because, you know, every day is not you know, sometimes there's good days and the bad days. And sometimes you just need that little bit of humor that makes you get off of that train track of, you know, pity. So I needed that. And I also needed someone who was going to be, I mentioned how I really envisioned myself having a marriage like my grandparents, both sets of my grandparents, wanting that ability to communicate when you didn't have to say a word, and you know, just that love that can be seen with just a look or a touch or something like that. But in that, there was just that they had that ability to build. There was a connection. They didn't have to be in the same room to know something was going on with the other. And I think that was important, is to, you know, to not lose my character and not lose my persona just because I'm now a major. You know what I mean? I'm still part of the Wallace family. I'm still part of the Williams family. I'm part of the Jones family. There's families that I'm part of. But the thing of it is that I'm still me. But I also carry I also carry that name which represents you, and you don't it's not one of those things where you're making me feel that if I don't, then I'm not worth this and that and the other, because that's not what I wanted. You saw my worth where it was, and it wasn't just about taking your name, and it wasn't about, you know, what you could do for me. I was more concerned about what I could do for you. And there was times where you had to stop and say, okay. But at the same time, you just allowed me to be me, and that was a big thing for me. I needed somebody who's going to allow me to still be me, all the while I'm still contributing to what is, and we're going to talk about that because I mentioned last night, our partnership is not just in marriage, it's a partnership. We're working together to build something that's going to go beyond you and me being here on this earth. So that's some of the things.
Okay.
I could go on and on, but we're not going to do that. A lot of people, before you go, a lot of people say, well, if you have a list, then, you know, it's not love. It's not a list, ladies and gentlemen, because like I just said, I could go on. We could be here for a while, okay? But the thing of it is that in this relationship, there's something discovered new every day. Yeah, it's the same person that I wake up across from. It's the same person that I, you know, eat breakfast with, or go out to dinner with, or go have fun with, or go to a family event with. But the thing of it is something new we discover about each other every day.
Yeah,
Little or big.
and we talked about that, how, you know, knowing what it is that you want or what you're looking for sometimes is a process that you kind of go through, because as we go through relationships, sometimes, you know, we're a little bit younger or at different places in our life, we're looking for something in particular, but then when we get it, we realize it wasn't really that important. You know, that wasn't high on the priority list, and it kind of changes or shifts.
Yeah, because notice I said nothing about a car, and I said nothing about, you know, a certain job and this and that, because a lot of females, if they don't have that, they don't, you know.
Right, those are superficial things,
right.
And I can tell you, and the reason why I asked that, because, you know, and I think I've spoke that several times before about the things that I knew that I was looking for. And as I was talking with my brother, you know, Marlo from LS Revival Center, you know, he was talking about some of the things that he had, you know, and his wife had, you know, looking for in each other. And some of the things were common. And I think, you know, the things that I knew that I really had to have, and it was after going through some relationships, after dealing with some things, you know, in my life, after, you know, understanding how important God was in my life, you know, I realized that these three things, and I don't have a whole list, a laundry list of different things, but I had the three things that I definitely thought that I had to have, and it gave me that foundation to work with, was number one, somebody who loved God, a woman who loved God, knew God, loved God. Number two, somebody who was a friend first, and we had that. And number three, somebody who had the ability to love me unconditionally. And I think that springs from having that relationship with God, having that ability to love unconditionally. So I think that those biblical things for me, you know, meant something. That foundation in Christ meant something.
Right.
Because a lot of those characteristics that we speak about, that Christ speaks about us having, or maybe Paul speaks about us living with, are things that I knew I wanted to have in the person. And I think that comes from that relationship, knowing God.
Right. That's good. Real quick, it's a beautiful thing when we have people join in and they're just thrilled to be here. So thank you, Tanya, for joining us. Appreciate you.
My family, with my family.
A lot of family support. We
love family. Yes, we love family. So much family. So important to us, and that's one of the things as well too. Is somebody who's family oriented again, because family that I come from is a tight knit family. We love to spend time with each other. We love to have fun with each other. We love to do things together. So that was important to me. And, to be transparent, I know because your family was, and you have that in your family as well, but some things in your immediate family was not the same as I had in mine. And it definitely concerned me, because it wasn't the same type of flow, but I realized that wasn't, the first three things were much higher on my priority list. So if that wasn't there, we could still move forward. I could still move forward to that next level of past the friendship into, the dating phase and, beyond that, because I realized,
our dating phase was weird. It was a good weird, but it was just weird. It wasn't the typical, like people would think dating is, where, he'll come, he'll pick me up, and we'll go do this and this, that. No, it was either I was traveling to Virginia or he was traveling, we were traveling, and that was the thing. And then, like you mentioned in the beginning, it was long distance at first before we came together. And when we decided on that relationship, that was when made the decision to come back this way. And he came back out and drove cross country with me with my child, rocking the car seat in the back. Drove cross country with me in a car, the two of us in the car for 3 days. Now, if that's not a test of being in the same spot with somebody, I don't know what it is. But just the fact that he was always there. When something was going on in my life, he was always there. I think that's something that should be noted. There's a reliability that comes in. I think one of the other things that I should mention that I was looking for is that my husband knows that I went through a lot of abusive relationships. And that was kind of a biggie for me. I was not willing to go through that again, but I had to, before where we are now, I wasn't at the point of stopping being the victim yet. I was still wanting to be the victim and wanting him to, sympathize and understand it. So I was making him the landing zone for the fault of everybody else. So that was something we had to work through, and we did work through. I made it a point to tell me it's not me. You're going to have to deal with the fact that it's not me. So.
Yeah, and that was, and I can say for myself, that was easier to do again because of, our foundation, as friends.
Mm-hmm.
And as we mentioned in that, there's a scripture that I wanted to read. I think it's Proverbs 17 and 17.
Mm-hmm.
It says, "A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for a time of adversity."
Mm.
And you can just take out the word brother,
right,
because it's not talking about this your biological brother. We're talking about the next person, the next friend, female, whoever it is, that friend, whether he's brother or sister, whatever, they're still going through the situation of adversity. And because we were friends, I was there through the adversity. I was there for the adversity. I think that's one of the things that you may have looked at and realized that that quality that I had as a friend is something that drew us even closer because I was going to be there through.
Because
The
many
thick
others
and the
claimed
thin.
to be there and they weren't there. And this was
Absolutely.
one that was, yeah, when he said he was gonna be there, oh yeah, he made a way. It was, hill or high water. He made it a point to be, even if it was to pack me up to go someplace else, he made it a point to be there. And I think that, for me, that was important. So, lots of little things, like I said, come into play. But thank you for Proverbs. And I also want to mention the fact in the Bible, make sure if it says men, okay, it says men, replace that with your name or with whatever your situation might be. Go ahead.
Right. No, it's just about to say that, throughout the Bible, especially in Proverbs, it always talks a lot about friends.
Yes.
And the nature of friends or the nature of friendship. And that's why it's so poignant. And I think it's so profound to have that as a foundation, of a relationship, because that's, you have different types of friend relationships, and when that friend relationship blossoms into another relationship, it's even greater. And there was another proverb in Proverbs 18:24. It says, "One who has an unreliable friend soon comes to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother." And I was listening to, I think it was 104, 106.1, and they just asked the question, do you have anybody, in your life who's a friend that's in your life that's closer to you than your own family? Than your own brother or sister. And again, I think those relationships and those bonds, have gone. And you think about the situation with David and Jonathan. They weren't biological brothers, but who could have been any closer to David than Jonathan was, as a brother? Who could be as trusted and believed and counted on as much, as Jonathan was to David and David was to Jonathan. They talk about the great love that they had for each other. And it's not just biological, but building from that foundation of
because Jonathan had a connection with him, not only family wise, but he felt a connection with him spiritually, right? And it was in his spirit led him to be a guardian, a protector of his friend, his brother, his family member, so to speak. So the spirit calls you to do certain things, and we all know that's a story that gets turned around and twisted 12 different ways in the Bible because of the relationship they have. But they had it, and they were there for each other, and that's what the friendship is about.
Absolutely. I think as we kind of flow into the next part of this again, I think we should speak about the different views men and women have. And I think those are foundational again, because a lot of the things we talk about biblically have no gender. And there was something in Ephesians that I wanted to make sure that I read, because we don't, I would be remiss if I didn't share some biblical things, with this show that we have. And I think it's Ephesians 4 and 4 and 2 and 3.
Okay.
2 through 3.
Say it again.
Ephesians 4, 2 through 3. And this just kind of speaks of some qualities that, again, and just understand these qualities are not male, they're not gender based. It's talking in the basic in the Bible at this particular time. It's talking about the unity in the body of Christ. But these same things could be universal in bringing unity in our relationships. All forms of relationships. Again, knowing that the Bible is a book of relationships, and it says here, be completely humble and gentle. Be patient, bearing with one another in love. Make every effort to keep unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace. And if you carry these biblical principles into your relationships, how can you go wrong when you're looking at building a relationship that's based on being gentle and patient and bearing with one another? And you have to do that in a relationship, because they're gonna come those difficult times that you go through, and you're gonna have to go through them,
Yes.
bearing with each other again, because we realize and we're able to look at ourselves in the mirror to understand that we're not perfect. And I think as as I was mentioning before when I first started again, just how men and women view things differently. That's a way of bearing with one another because I can't think just from a man's perspective and expect you to understand
Right.
where I'm coming from all the time. It's just not gonna happen, and vice versa.
Mhm.
And
Definitely vice versa, because you have a lot of men that'll tell you that I don't understand women, I don't know why they do what they do. I just say yes and just keep going.
Men are from Mars and women are from Venus.
But the thing of it is that ladies, you need to take time to understand why a man does what a man does. And I'm not talking about, you get to understand a relationship wise, but understand why a man does the things that he does. Why a man will retreat, okay, and want some time alone. You want time alone, so why can't a man have time alone? Why they go into what we call their bear cave, okay, to do what they do. If you haven't read Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, go read it. It makes completely perfect sense. Women need to understand that men are fix-it creatures, okay? If you step foot in the house and you just start unloading on your spouse or your partner or your boyfriend or whoever it is, your brother, whoever it is, they go into fix-it mode because you're giving them your problems of the day. So they are looking for a way to fix what's wrong, even if they have to step out there and go be He-Man to solve your problem. So you have to come correct in letting them know, you know what, I just need to unwind. I just need somebody to listen. You got a minute? Can you listen? That way they don't go into fixing mode. They know now. They're very simple creatures. Okay? Simplistic in the ways that I'm talking about. If you just tell them what it is that you need, guess what? And I'm still learning that in certain aspects where you don't have to go around Jacob's barn to give an explanation. Just tell them what you need. And why men also, ladies, you want your girl time, you want your girls night out, you want all this. Why can't a guy have that? Why can't he go out with the fellas? Why can't he go and, go to the sports bar and eat wings and holler and scream at the television? Why can't he go to men's fellowship? Why is it that women only trust men's fellowship, but they don't trust going out, where you've got to build that trust. If it wasn't built before the marriage and then you're questioning it during the marriage, something's wrong. In my perspective, I don't want to go too far, but
Right.
something's wrong.
No, and again, that just takes understanding the individual that you have. Sometimes because men do things differently or have different things that we want to do, and women have different things they want to do. We have to be, understanding of what those needs are, and not, impose our will on the other person to say, no, I'm not with that. You can't do that. I mean, and sometimes, we have to understand what our own needs are, because I think a lot of people go into relationships not, and I do that with a lot of women. I mean, when I hear women talk about relationships that they go through and some of the stuff that they go through with men and what they want, and I always ask the question, what is it that you're looking for? And I realize a lot of women really can't answer that question specifically. And when they answer that question, usually it's, the superficial thing, so it's really, you have to know yourself and know what your wants and needs are in a relationship. And I spoke with my son, we've been talking recently about that, sometimes just taking some time to take a step back from a relationship or a situation that you're in, to look at yourself and realize, what is it that I need? What do I need from a relationship? What do I want from a relationship?
Right.
And then, you can, from that point, you know what you're looking for. It's easier to find something as opposed to looking for a needle in a haystack.
Right. To set yourself up to be ready to work towards what that is that you say that you want. I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah, no, that's accurate.
Okay. I mean, that just makes total sense. And like I said, I didn't want to go too far, but when we started with friendship and you're building those things, you're building the trust and the understanding and the consistency and the learning and going through all that, it doesn't stop once you get to that point of where you're dating and want to take the relationship to another level because you're still learning because you're now on a different plane.
Right.
You know, because you're right, you want to find out if this person can be committed to you. You want to find out if this person can be, you know, the things that you sit and talk about and you want to strive to attain in your relationship. It's not always about the money that's spent. It's not always about where you go, who's seen, how much, you know, who got the best clothes on, who arrives in this car. It's not about that. It's about, are you working at it together? So it's like with some of the things that I do, there's some things that I won't do if my husband is not there with me, or if he can't be there with me, I tell him about it, and I make sure that, you know, he knows I'm not just running off by myself without considering, you know, having my husband there with me. So I think that's the same thing, you know, when you start considering the needs of the other person. You know, it goes, you know, as a friend, you consider other people's needs, but when you start going into that relationship mode, you start thinking about their needs a lot more because it affects how your relationship goes. It affects what direction your relationship goes.
But you also have to have the ability to be able to do that, to be selfless. And I don't think you all of a sudden become selfless once you get married.
Right.
It has to be something and that's why for me, like I said, you had to be somebody who knew Christ and knew, you know, could love unconditionally, and that goes to a foundation of who that person is, your ability to be able to do that. And then, like I said, that ability to be able to do that flows from a relationship with God because you learn some things, biblical things, principles that will help you, you know, build that foundation. And people who don't know Christ, I don't think have a difficult time learning how to be unselfish and selfless in their relationship where you're looking more to please the other. You know, like, you know, the Bible talks about esteeming the other person higher than yourself. That's a biblical principle that how do you do when how do you learn to do that when you're just living in the world and you're so used to wanting what you want for yourself.
That's true. When it's just been all about you,
It's
and now all of a
about
sudden
you.
it's
It's about what I want, what I need,
Yeah.
and only that.
I agree.
You know, and I'm not gonna have it no other way unless I get this, that, and the other. You're not thinking about so much about the other person. The other person just ought to be happy and glad to be with you because of how great, wonderful you are.
Because it's me.
It doesn't right. No, but you realize you know, the world is like that. There's
That's
a lot of people in the world who are like that. It's about them.
That you know, that is true. Because a lot of people, well, I don't like using that phrase, a lot of people. There's certain people whose ego is just like, you know, you should be glad that you're happy because I could be with somebody else. Because that's not something you tell somebody in a relationship. That's not something you tell somebody that you want to build something together with. That they should be glad that they have. How about let's reverse that? How about that you both be glad that you have each other? Okay. And stop thinking about who could have you. It's not about who could have you. You gotta be in the moment with who you're with and not thinking about what you could have. What's on the other side of that fence? That's that grass on the other side of that.
But that goes to again that biblical principle of being humble. You know, because when you have humility, it's not just all about you. It's not, you know, you puffing up yourself thinking that you, the bee's knees per se.
That bag of chips, and I'm still looking for that bag of chips. Where's the bag of chips at? But yeah, I don't know. It's when you have opened yourself up to invite somebody into your world, okay, and you're entering into their world. That says that you're willing to step into, work with, learn a little bit more because you know people freak out with it. You want to meet my mom? I want you to meet my mama. Why? People freak out. Why not meet the family? That's where this person came from. This is who raised this person. This should be the person you want to get to know and make a good impression on, but people freak out. Um, you know, um, mother-in-laws get a bad rap, and not all mother-in-laws are bad, so cut that out. Anyway, coming back down scale a little bit, you're dating. Again, you're learning each other, you're getting to know each other, you're finding out more about that person than you in a friendship. Because again, like you mentioned in the beginning, you don't come in telling everybody all your dirt as a friend. You may tell that to your best friend, okay, because your best friend knows you like that. But when it's somebody that you're building a friendship with, you don't just come in and start talking about, what happened to, you and your family 15 years ago and how you ended up on the streets and this and that. You don't come right out with that. That comes in time after you've built that trust. But now when you start dating, that's when opening up should come a little bit easier, I want to say.
It should be part of the process. Again, because you have to be able to give what it is you want. And if you want somebody to be open and honest and revealing to you, you have to be able to do the same. Some people are afraid to do that because it makes them vulnerable, and somebody may hurt me or take this information and do something with it. But it's still, you have to have that ability. And people that have been hurt in that situation, I definitely, and I've seen so many times, crawl back into that bubble or put that wall up behind it. I'm not going to do this again. Then how do you find the type of relationship with that thing that you want if you're not willing to give it?
Right. How do you cry for what you want, but then you won't let the thing you want in?
Right. Exactly.
And we see that across the board, not just in building relationships, but you see that when people are coming out of abusive relationships, they're coming out of dysfunctional situations. Even work relationships, because even with work relationships, there's just some people that you just can't work with. Okay. That you just can't work with. Or they just rub you so much the wrong way that you do everything in your power to avoid this person. Okay. And some people get offended at people that are happy when they're at work. I never figure that out, because there was always this one guy at the Pentagon. He would always come from the cafeteria with a large Coke in his hand, and he would just be, "Hey, how you doing? Good morning. How's your day going?" And some people would be like, "Dude, I have not had my coffee. Stop being so happy before 8:00 in the morning." Personalities are also a part of relationships. They come with their own personality. You can't trying to change that person into what you think they should be. That is one of the no-nos to me in a relationship. You cannot and should not. If they grow and they change and you're there when they're changing and they're asking for your help to help them through the change, that's different. But going in thinking that if you do certain things and tell them certain things and not allow and try to place them in a corner when it comes to how you want them to be, that's a very quick way to end a relationship. Because you're not letting that person be who they are in a relationship. You're not allowing that spirit to be what God has created it to be. Okay? And when you come into a relationship, that's where you have to find that within yourself, like you mentioned, to let that enter into your world. Just like this person is allowing your craziness to enter into their world, okay, and learn to deal with it. Because to my knowledge, there is not two people in a marriage that are exactly alike. They may finish each other's sentences, they may, have a simpatico that's there, but there is no two people that come into a relationship and they are exactly alike. There's no way. No way. And if there is somebody, please tell me if I need to go read up on that.
And you're right in the sense, definitely in the sense that you can't make somebody turn somebody into something you want them to be necessarily. And I think it's most comfortable in a relationship when you can see that person for who they are and become to love them and care for them because of who they are.
Right.
Not that they can't make changes or they can't become some of those things you might want them to be. Right. But I think, first of all, it's being realistic about what it is that you have in this person, and accepting of who this person is. I mean, because when you can do that, it's easier. It's easier for a person to see their changes if they trust in you enough that they know that you accept them for who they are and how they are. Then you can say, okay, well, no, I can let you in because I know that you accept me for who I am. Now, if you see something in me that you believe that I need to change or I can work on, then we can talk about it. We can move forward. You can make those changes, but you can't make that person change.
Right. All of these things are building blocks. That's what
They
they
are.
are. They're building blocks. They're stepping stones within the relationship. You're gonna fall sometimes. You're gonna slip sometimes. There's gonna be ones that you can't climb or that you're trying to figure out how to climb, and you need this other person to help you figure out how to climb. That. So there's gonna be the dips and valleys within the relationship. And I think you mentioned a lot of key things there, but the thing is working together. That togetherness. You were together as friends and laughing and joking and talking. Now you're in this dating, the dating part of it, and there should still be laughing, joking, and talking. Just because you're on a different level of relationship should not change who you are as a person. You're still the same person. Your mindset and how you deal with the other person may be a little different because now you're on a whole nother path.
Right.
Whereas friendship, y'all do your laugh, you're talking this, that, and the other, and everybody go home. Okay. And now you're at a point where you still laugh, joke, talk, and you may go home. I know for us, it was very important that we weren't about living together. That was one of the biggest things. We were maintaining two separate households, but being able to come together and spend the time together and do what we needed to do. And there were days where it was hard to come together because you get that 24 or 48-hour period or 72-hour period. You don't want to go home.
I mean, and speaking for myself again, trying to live as a Christian, I knew shacking wasn't that thing that I wanted to do, and I knew it would create a whole other avenues for stuff that I wasn't ready to deal with as a Christian. I mean, it was hard enough to deal with some things, where your spirit is already being convicted for not doing everything the godly way.
We've all had that.
But to put yourself in that position 24/7, to start living like a married couple when you are not was something I knew, I didn't want to do.
Right. And I know that's what I did in my first marriage. We lived together for the first year to see if we could be in the same space with each other.
Right.
It wasn't a question if we could be in the same space. It was just simpatico. It was just that we weren't willing to work with each other.
Right. Yeah, that's what I say. You can be in the same space, but you might want to kill each other because you're in that.
Exactly. And I mean, and just to step off just a little bit onto the shoulder here, it even comes down to if you're in the same household with family members. Because I lived with my dad. Okay, but my dad had his job and I had my job, and we basically came together, when we got home from work. He was tired, I was tired, we did our thing, we ate dinner, we had a little few laughs, watched a little television, and everybody went to bed. So, there's things that you learn. I learned a lot of different things about my dad, living with him, understanding my dad on a different level. It was the same thing living with my mom, seeing what I was seeing. It was different growing up as a kid because they were both in the same house. To see them living in different houses, you saw they were still the same people, but living differently.
Right.
So you learn to adjust. There's things that you learn of what you will and won't put up with, what you do and don't want in your life. And some things, just be honest, some things you let slide by that you shouldn't let slide by, you should say something about, because it will affect you in the long run. It will affect you in the long run, especially growing up in our parents' household. How we're raised and the things we're surrounded by and the love we're shown or not shown, or the things that we're allowed to do, have a part in shaping us who we are as young adults and adults. You mentioned about, the tightness in your family, and, my growing up, I had that, both sides of my, I mean, I was surrounded by cousins and aunts and uncles and, just love all the way around, and it's still the same today. There had to be a reconnect, but it's still the same today. And then coming into, to learning and loving and growing with your family and, becoming the insta aunt, okay, or the insta cousin, it's new, it's a new feeling, and it's just something that it's not unfamiliar. It's just on a different playground. That's all it is. It's just a different playground.
And I know we're going to be running short on time soon, but I wanted to ask you, and we've talked about it a little bit last night about how differently men and women view marriage, period.
Yes. Yes. And I mentioned that this morning, and you mentioned it last night, but it's, men, ladies, and I'm sure you can attest to this if you're married, men don't really take part in that whole wedding thing, preparations. Just like, tell me where to be, what do you want me to wear, what time do I need to show up, what do you need me to do, so I can just be there, get it over with, and we can go on about our business. Whereas we've been fantasizing about it since we were able to walk and talk. Okay, watching Cinderella and Snow White and all these others, and wanting to have that long flowing gown and this, that, and the other, and seeing all these romantic movies and hoping that it goes that way, and then waking up and really realizing, okay. But men just wanted to be, like I said, tell me where to be, what do you need me to do, I'll be there, we're done. Whereas we as women lose our minds. Because we have to have a certain flower, we have to have a certain dress, it has to be the right color, it has to be the right height of heel, it has to be the invitation's gotta look a certain way. We can't see each other this many hours before the wedding. You gotta go here, I gotta go there. It's a whole thing.
So answer me this question: why do women focus on so much of those little details, and why that matters so much? Again, because we saw that, and as we were talking about the show last week, it was on Fix My Life. The Van Zandt Fix My Life.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Talking about them, focusing on the marriage as opposed to, focusing on the wedding as opposed to the marriage. And I can again tell you how differently men think about it and view about it, but why those details?
I think to me, and this is just my opinion, because I just mentioned it, as little girls, we're given that princess effect. That princess effect, where your gown should look like this, your hair should look like this, you should have this, this entrance that you have. We're given these things to think about as little girls and grow up into that mentality of this is what we should have as women. We see it on TV in the shows that we watch, okay, or the movies that we watch. Again, I mentioned Disney. Disney brought that all up in there, okay. So we're given that to focus on and think about and want from the time we're, like I said, able to walk and talk.
Right. But that simply shows how different men and women think, because a man could see that very same Disney movie and not be looking at the same thing that y'all are looking at, because it's not, we just think differently. And I'm only going to speak from a man's perspective, and I've talked to a lot of men. I've heard, different shows of men talk about getting married, or why men hesitate or fear marriage, and it's not so much fearing marriage as it is wanting to be sure, because for a man, it's almost like an investment into your future. So we look at it as an investment. What are we going to get out of this thing when we make this commitment to get into it? Almost like, okay, when I invest my $100,000 into this business, what am I going to get out of it? So we look at it in that sense, and I think women look at it more in the romanticized
party field,
view of, okay, the Disney thing, and it's all lovely, it's beautiful.
Well, let me ask you this real quick before we have to get out of here. Like I mentioned how we as women look at Cinderella, Snow White, Frozen, all the, Brave, all these different movies that put females in a certain spotlight. When you've seen Cinderella, you've seen Snow White, you've seen all these. When you see Cinderella, what do you
That question is way too big, too
think?
open.
No, it's not. When you
These are
watch
more
Cinderella,
specific.
what did you think about? When Prince Charming came in, what was your thought of Prince Charming? Let me ask that. Let me narrow it down. Because we know Cinderella's out there talking to the mice and all this other stuff. The mice were helping her with the dress, and she was cleaning the house, and this, that, and the other. Had a stepmama who really didn't like her, and a daddy who loved her, but he died too soon. But when Prince Charming stepped in, when the men stepped into the picture, what happened? What did you think?
Viewing it from the man's perspective and how men think and how we've been kind of programmed as well is we come as that, that dashing, debonair, perfect wannabe that everything for that woman. So she sees us in the way that, the movie tells us to see this man. You may want to be worthy of all those little details that you want to go through to be perfect for that
so
man. But we want to
does
be.
play on you as well to be a certain way.
It does.
Okay.
It does because like I said, I'm going to speak for myself, and I'm sure I can speak for a lot of other men as well too. A lot of men, real men, let me put it this way, real men who want to think about going into a marriage want to make sure that they have the ability to provide for their wife, they have the ability to protect their wife, please their wife, as they talked about on the 4 questions that Yamba. I hate saying it.
That's his tongue tie for the day.
Oh, I hate it. But we have these things that we want to be able to stand up and be able to be that provider, that cover, and I think that's innate in us to do, not just the version of the Disney version of what that thing is, but I think God created us the way to be that provider, that protector, and we, matter of fact, we read that when we were talking about the kingdom man, and talk about how God has created us and created us with these certain qualities, these certain things. So we want to be able to be that everything,
Right.
like I said, most real men. Some men want to hurry up and get married so they can have somebody to take care of.
Right. They want another mom. Now we always keep forgetting that 4th P. We got please, protect, provide. Now the other one I'm gonna say that is be present, because some, like you just mentioned, some men want to hurry up and have somebody to take care of them. They're not necessarily present. They're married, they got the ring proving it, but they're not present in the marriage. So
right, but that wasn't that other.
no, but I'm just calling out one of them, a P that
You make it up your P.
I just called out one just trying to get that 4th P. But we gonna find that 4th P, guy dog, and if we have to go back and watch the whole thing and be aggravated for an hour to watch that again. But Kevin, do you have a major thought of the day? Because we've got we're coming down to the end, and I know last week you said you didn't get a major thought of the day, and I kind of did. I just didn't read it in as major thought of the day.
No, you didn't. And I guess my major thought of the day, and I get it'll just to spring from what it is that we discussed. The biggest thing for me is to build that foundation, in a relationship. We must be able to be friends first, because that foundation of friendship, man, can is a building block for those all those other things that we have to have in a relationship. Because being a friend, you learn to communicate. You can be honest, and those are 3 things that I also said that I had to have a relationship again with somebody. You can trust, you can communicate, and you can be honest with. And I think those things spur from a friendship, when you have a real friendship.
Just found the 4th P, perform. So it's provide, protect, please, and perform.
Okay.
Just found it. Okay. Yay me. Yay me, but thank you, honey. for that, for your major thought. I appreciate your major thought. Friendship first. We're going to continue on the building blocks in terms of, you're married now, what? Okay. The things that go into building a relationship, especially if you're leaning towards marriage. Because just because you got the wedding dress and the cake and all of that stuff, after the party's over, they still there. Okay. And you got to be able to move beyond that. So, honey, thank you. I appreciate you. And thank you all for tuning in with us today. Remember to keep it locked on WMSKOnlineradio.com. There is a show for everybody up here, from Team Truth on Saturdays to Spiritual Nourishment with Cheryl Underwood. You got Lady Blue Radio Show. You got Open Wide with Neek. You got Uncut Sports Talk. You've got Late Night Cupcaking with Cheryl Underwood. There's Lyrical Paradox, True Grit, Let's Talk Baltimore, The Cypher, Pastor's Wife, all these different shows that are here, so there's something for everybody. If you have a show idea and you want to be on radio, just drop us a line at WMSKOnlineradio.com, click on contact, and we'll get back with you. If you're interested in radio marketing or sponsoring a segment of this show or any show, also go to the website, click on advertise, drop us a line, and our marketing team will get back with you. If you're interested in donating to our ministry here at Covenant Connection, you can do so by contacting us at covenantconnection16@gmail.com. And I do want to shout out real quick again my husband's ministry that is coming into fruition, and that is Gentlemen of Destiny. It is coming to fruition, and I'm glad to see the work and the growth and all that's going on with that. Can't wait for that to come and bring all of that stuff is together. Okay?
Mentoring program.
It is a mentoring program. I am excited about it, and just like my husband supports me, I will support him in his mentoring program, and we will bring those things together for the men in the community. Other than that, guys, it has been a fun show. We're just starting off on this series. Please get out and enjoy your weekend. It is spring. It was kind of cold yesterday with all that rain. It's a little bit windy today. But make sure you bless somebody with whatever you get from your blessings. Take what you get and share with somebody else, because you may be the only Bible that they get for the day. And remember, as we always say here, we love you.
There's absolutely nothing you can do about it.
Not a doggone thing. And we just want you to have fun and join us back here next Friday when we continue our marriage series. And y'all just be real with each other. Please be real with each other. Be true with each other. Be friends. Work on your friendship. Learn to understand each other, and don't try to change the other person into what you think they should be. Let them be who God has made them to be. Because God don't make no mistakes. Okay?
We be real in love.
There you go. All right,
We're
y'all.
not doing it harming each other.
All right, y'all. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
God bless. You got to keep it real, folks, who feel like they got to say everything.
Everything.
No kidding. All
right, y'all. We are out. Enjoy your weekend. Drop us a line over on Covenant Connection on Facebook or on Instagram, and we will talk to y'all later. Bye.
We again.
Now, I'm gonna leave this the way it is.